Friends, I know I mentioned popping on here a little bit more regularly for the sole purpose of telling you more about two things. And those two things is actually how I journal. It's the stuff I really want to remember and I take notes on. Nothing crazy complicated. I just remember these two things whenever they happen. And I'm wanting to remember them. Those two things are, one, I write down, this is what he said, if he recently said something to me. And by he, I mean God, my Father, Yahweh. And two, I write down, this is what he showed me then about what he said. So something just happened recently, and I thought it was a good time to pop on here again. I was getting really overwhelmed, to be honest. Overwhelmed with trying to figure something out and getting some stuff set up. I was popping all over the place trying to get this thing going and just really getting overwhelmed that it wasn't going as fast as I wanted it to. and racking my brain of like, what am I doing wrong that I need to fix? Or what should I be doing? And I remember looking to the sky as I'm like swirling in this frustration and feeling overwhelmed about it all. I remember looking up to the sky just saying, talking to my God saying, show me how you want me to do this. And then it hit me, I need to go take a bath. And I don't just mean a bath, I needed to go mikvah. What does that mean, Jen? Well, I needed to separate myself from this feeling of being overwhelmed and being stressed out about it, trying to figure it all out and it all swirling all around me. I knew I needed to separate myself from those feelings and that mindset. And so what I knew to do that was to go talk to my God and to go take a bath and to mikvah. What is a mikvah, Jen? Well, it's something I learned about when I was in Israel 2 years ago with my coach, Danny Johnson. It was an amazing trip, which I'm sure you've heard a lot about, but we learned how to mikvah. And a mikvah is really just a cleansing. It's getting off the stuff that you're dealing with. It's having a conversation with the Father, and it's intimate with Him. And so I went to go do this, and I'm pouring some bath salts in my tub, and I'm putting in some essential oils of peace and calming and stress relief. And I just knew I needed to like separate myself. And so I'm sitting there in the tub, choosing not to stay in that overwhelming feeling. I'm talking to my Father, and one word hits me. Well, a word with a dash in it. So 2 words technically. But that one word that hit me was set apart. If I could be anything as a human being, as a friend, as a business owner, as the starter of a movement, as a coach, you name it, I want to be set apart. I don't want to do it the way that everybody else is doing it. I want to do it the opposite. I want to set it apart for Him. And what does that mean, Jen? Well, for me, it means that I'm bringing in the way that He operates. I'm inviting Him in to all of those things, and I'm seeing what He wants to do. So that's when he hit me with an idea. And that idea was something you recently saw probably on my Facebook status. If you didn't, drop down below and scroll down to that idea where I'm like, I might be crazy. This is when that idea birthed. And that idea was because of something that was starting to radically change my life. And I want to share it with you. I want to invite you into that experience. The thing that was changing my life all came from a book called A Time to Advance. And the subtitle is Understanding the Significance of the Hebrew Tribes and Months. I had no idea that there is a Hebrew calendar that was used and is used in biblical times. So like when you're reading all the stories of the Bible, they were all happening on a Hebrew calendar. I had no idea that even existed, let alone that there's people who still follow that calendar today. So as I was reading this book and diving in, I chose to start implementing some of this stuff into my own calendar. I wanted to know where we were within that Hebrew calendar and maybe what it means. How does it tie to the things that happened in history? So I started writing down in my planner when the new month in the Hebrew calendar started. And I would outline that day so that I would remember, okay, today, that actual day of the new month in that Hebrew calendar is called Rosh Chodesh. And so I would highlight that day. So why? So that I would open up this book and read 2 chapters. I would, 1, read what month is it. So June 11th is another Rosh Chodesh. And the month that we're going to be going into is called Tammuz. What's Tammuz? So I wanted to make sure to read about what that month means. And then I also wanted to read, okay, what tribe is associated with that month? Because there's also a chapter that tells you which tribe is associated to that month in the Hebrew calendar. So I would read both of those chapters. And as I was starting to do this, as the months would go by, I was blown away by what he would show me and what he would say to me, because it was so parallel with the operating of these months and what happened in history. So as I'm sitting there and he's reminding me of this stuff that is not only changing my life, and I'm hearing his voice, and I'm seeing him move, and he's showing me things, deepening my relationship with him. It then hits me, wouldn't it be great if a group of us got together on those days and shared what he showed all of us and what he said? The stories that would come from those calls, those Zoom calls, where we all gather at the end of the month and share what he said to you, what you learned off of what you read. And did something happen in your month that relates to that? Did you see him? I think that would be an amazing and powerful call, don't you? I want to get more aligned with the way he operates. Do you, friends? If you do, there is still room for you in our monthly Zoom calls where we're going to be reading this, and then we're going to be gathering as a group and sharing what he says and what he does. Oh, and I almost forgot. So as all this is happening, he then says to me and reminds me of how simple it really is. We get so overwhelmed, so frustrated, trying to figure everything out, thinking we have to have the right thing set up, the right email system, the right website, the right business details, you name it. We get all caught up in all of that stuff, trying to get it all set up the right way. And then he reminded me, what did they have in the very beginning? What did they have in the very beginning? All they had was the Torah, so portions of the scripture, and all they had was him. All they had was those 2 things, and the Red Sea was parted. All they had was those 2 things, and the mouths of lions were shut. All they had were those 2 things, and they were led out of Egypt, out of slavery, post all of these plagues. All they had were these 2 things, and Noah and his family were saved on the ark. We get so caught up thinking that in order for him to operate, in order for him to move, we got to have all this stuff set up and ready. What if all it takes is studying his word and inviting him in? I think it's that easy, friend. Anyways, I hope I will see you on our monthly Zoom calls where we dive into what does it mean to be set apart, and what is this Hebrew calendar all about? What do these months really mean? And what Hebrew tribe is associated to them, and what happened? I hope you're excited to get aligned with him, because I am. And I'm excited to have conversations with you where you share what he says to you and what he shows you. I'll see you soon.